Welcome back to That Gameplays. How's everybody doing tonight? We are in for an exciting show tonight. We got a lot of crazy news going on here. We got some new updates on Nintendo movies in production, leaked Sonic the Hedgehog designs, and even this petition about a video game practices that, get this, is actually supposedly working for once. It's crazy, but tonight I'm gonna need some help. I couldn't do it without my amazing co-host, the beard of awesomeness himself, Culture Casino. How you doing, good sir?
I'm fantastic, Nolan. I'm glad we're here. We got a lot to cover. I love your new background in your studio. Looks amazing. Well done. Look at that.
Thank you.
And yeah, we do. We've got a lot to cover. What you got?
All right, well, let's go ahead and get into the first story here. But before we start, I just want to say thanks everyone for showing up. We see you in the chat, and it's going to be a good night tonight. So let me go ahead and bring in our first story here.
There you go.
All right, so this comes to us from comicbook.com by Laura Gray. So thank you to Laura. The headline is, Nintendo is working on more movies beyond Super Mario 2 and Zelda. But what will they be? Well, let's get into this thing. All right, so whether you are singing peaches or hungry for any shred of information about the Legend of Zelda live-action film, one thing has become clear. Nintendo's movie franchise is off to a strong start. Following the success of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, many fans of the video game publisher have been eager to see what other projects could be adapted for the big screen. Following a recent Q&A, it seems additional Nintendo films could actually be in the works. Those who love the Super Mario Bros. Movie are in for an exciting treat, as it seems Nintendo already has projects in the works. Culture, you saw the Mario movie, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I think it was a great way to showcase all of the color and activities and the characters in the world. I thought they did a wonderful job with the animations, the voices, and yeah, they really did make you care about everybody in that. So that's pretty good.
I agree. I went day one. I was so scared before seeing it because I was like, man, what happens if this is like the happiest moment in my life? And then the rest of my life is just terrible after that because nothing will ever be as good as the Mario movie. That's the kind of fan I am on these Nintendo properties. But we have some news regarding the future of them, though, because Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa comments on new visual media. In an AGM Q&A translated and shared with the public, Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa has commented on what the future could hold for visual media and content. The president was asked, "Can you elaborate on the future of your visual content business? Is there a possibility of producing new visual content beyond on Nintendo IP other than Mario and The Legend of Zelda?" He replied with, "We released the Super Mario Bros. Movie in theaters in April of 2023, and we are pleased to say that it has been received positively by many people around the world. Looking ahead, we plan to release a new animated film based off the world of the Super Mario Bros. In April of 2026, and a live-action movie of The Legend of Zelda in May of 2027. Under our strategy of expanding the number of people who have access to Nintendo IP to continuously invigorate our core integrated hardware-software business, we have been working on initiatives beyond our dedicated video game platforms for several years. Visual content is one such area. And rather than simply licensing our IP to film production companies, we are taking a proactive approach where Nintendo itself is deeply involved in production and makes investments as needed. This approach allows us to maintain a strong commitment to the quality of the final project. Although we cannot discuss our plans beyond the Legend of Zelda movie at this time, keynote here, we are working on various other projects." So, Culture, I want to take a bit of a spin on this here because, as we know, there's been a lot of speculation on a greater Nintendo universe of movies ever since the first Mario movie was announced. The MCU made shared universes within Hollywood like a big thing, and we're hearing all this stuff about, the Nintendo Cinematic Universe, and it seems like it kind of fell apart when Miyamoto went to Sony to have them produce a live-action Legend of Zelda movie. It seems like Universal, the rumor says that they felt kind of stabbed in the back, and we kind of don't really know what the future is holding for these kind of movies. Like, what do you think their approach is now that it seems the NCU what they were going to end up going for.
Well, that's a good question. Shared universes are fine, especially in the like a gaming universe like Nintendo actually has. They have the ability to share characters across their own individual storylines. It's been done forever. I mean, probably all the way back in their trading card days. I think that being able to like continually roll out films that the characters have their own world that they live within, but then they have a shared universe. I think that path is open for them. They might be the only ones that are able to do it because, unlike the multiverse garbage that people have rejected in the MCU, this has always been a blended universe for forever and ever. So, you know, Kong crosses over between the various Mario characters, Peaches and things. You get, you know, even Disney mixed into to some of the stuff at times. This is one of those this is one of those times where you could take full advantage of that. And I have to say that, you know, in Mario Kart, it's a perfect example of how you just share those characters across everything. Plus, you know, when you see Legend of Zelda and Link is featured on screen, I think that's going to be a mind-blowing moment for everybody. And again, it'll just build within that world. It doesn't have to cross over, but it can. I think that's the one thing Nintendo has over everybody else is the ability to do that, but it's not a requirement.
Agreed. Everything was sewn in extremely natural. They were doing crossover content before that was like, you know, cool to do on the block. And, you know, when that Legend of Zelda movie finally comes out that you're talking about, the live action one, I can only pray and hope that that Link doesn't look like Tom Holland. That's my one goal for that, or one of the few goals I have for that movie. But, you know, if I could bring a little 2 cents on it here too, I feel like Nintendo, you know, we're routine to seeing, you know, especially with franchises like The Legend of Zelda, you know, we have cell shaded style, we have the puppet type art style that we saw with the recent Link's Awakening remake a few years ago on the Switch. We have, you know, the more realistic style of Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, all that. And Mario, I mean, the dude's been made out of paper and they'll make a game around him. So I think Nintendo can find some clever ways, you know, to integrate these franchises still together. To continue what was stated here in the article, in addition, the president also confirmed that other projects beyond Zelda and Mario are in the works. Of the IPs that are most likely to get feature films, Kirby, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon are likely at the top of the list. Donkey Kong could also be a top contender, though it hasn't seen as much hype or excitement as Animal Crossing and Splatoon in recent years. You know, however, the new game on the Switch 2 could probably be a factor in that as well, in my opinion. Of all the franchises that offer the best freedom for an interesting feature film, Splatoon is at the top of the list, with a unique world, interesting lore, and beloved characters. It would be a fantastic option for adaptation to the big screen. Unfortunately, it isn't likely the Pokemon franchise will see any adaptations spearheaded by Nintendo, as the IP already has expansive animation operations separate from the video game publisher with a decade fanbase. However, this makes room for other IPs to have a chance at a fresh adaptation. While nothing has been confirmed, it's likely that any new movie announcement will be met with excitement from fans. Culture, of all the franchises, aside from Mario, Legend of Zelda, and Pokemon, what do you want to see on the big screen?
Wow. Man, there's so
Loaded
much.
question.
Yeah, I look at you excluded like the one that's the no-brainer for me is obviously Zelda. But you know what? Give me a moment to think about that, Nolan. What do you want to see on the big screen out of the Nintendo's world of games, I guess?
Dang, man, I was gonna let you talk so I could think about. I was gonna cheat on that.
Yeah. No, it's a tough ask. It's a tough ask.
Yeah, it shows that they have so many options. It's not one of those where it's like, you know, you have to dig from the bottom of the barrel just to, you know, make a universe work. I mean, we have like 40-something years of history here. I gotta say, I think there's something inside of me that would really love to see a Pikmin movie. I think they could do something really artistic with it, like whether it's live action or CGI. It's a very strange game that has a lot of really quiet moments, and I don't know, I'm kind of a sucker for those more abstract artistic type movies that doesn't need to say everything. It just kind of shows it and lets the story speak for itself. And I think they could do some really fun things with like the day and night cycle and all the crazy creatures. I just kind of wonder if it'd be a big merchandise juggernaut or not, but that would be one. I think that would be my top pick personally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You're asking me the impossible question. Um, I think you're right about Pikmin, though. I think that would translate really well on the big screen, and I do believe that they have a ton of opportunities there. Um, Man, I'd love to see a Luigi only game, but again, you restricted my picks, which kind of irritates me a lot. Um,
Okay, okay. Let's, well, if I can make this a little easier for you, if
yeah.
we can integrate them into, the franchises like Zelda and Mario, but what game would you like to see adapted? I'll still put a little spin on it for you, so you have to pick something.
uh,
Like as a core for a film, you know what I
a
mean?
core for a film. Um, like Luigi's Mansion.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Because that was honestly my pick was I feel like that there's always some rumor going around that there might be a Luigi's Mansion spinoff in the work as well as a
attraction.
possible addition to Epic Universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that would be perfect timing with, the little references made in the first Mario movie. I don't know what you think.
Well, no, I think you're right. I think that if they are able to do that in multiple platforms simultaneously, they then again embarrass Disney because they're able to, do something that Disney just doesn't do with their franchises anymore. You know what I mean? I mean,
Agreed.
you used to be able to, have Disney things cross over, from merchandise to movies to attractions. I mean, that's what Fantasyland is in Magic Kingdom and Disneyland. It's all former Disney movies that they were able to capitalize in a book report ride, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, from there, I mean, you kind of just have all access to everything. I can't even begin to tell you how many various games I played. Um, you know that Nintendo made across all their various consoles. It seems like it's impossible to even like get through their catalog without wanting something to be made a game or made into a movie, I should say. So
Yeah. There's even people clamoring for Captain N adaptation, which I don't know the chances of that are probably like zero. But hey, who knows? They always give us a curveball. But yeah, no. Thank you for sharing, though. I think it's very fascinating because I think that's a very healthy thing about this topic is you get a lot of different perspective on what people want to see. How it's going to be. The Zelda film alone, has a lot of different like people want it to be like Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time, and I think the fact that we have so much to choose from is part of what's going to make these movie projects so special because it shows that they're putting a lot of time and effort, and I hope the studios will reflect it. Any closing thoughts before we wrap this, Culture?
Metroid.
Metroid, yes, and Samus, Nintendo, don't let me down, my friends. I'm holding it to you. Don't destroy my life with the wrong casting there.
Yeah, well
Oh my
that's
goodness.
obviously always going to be the worry, right? Is that they blow the casting and then we're stuck with Zendaya. Yeah, or something like
Zero
that.
Zero Suit Zendaya ZSZ. I don't know if we're ready for that.
I don't think so. Yeah,
um.
and there's a lot of great
So
suggestions in the chat too. So thank you for
yeah.
that. We appreciate it.
Well, yeah, no. Actually, I'm not ready for Zendaya, but I am ready to see a few in the chat. Do you think we could feature some of these beautiful comments here, good sir?
Of course, we got Jared Markham out there saying how you do, Juliet, saying hi to people. We got Mick Spoon out there. Donkey Kong could definitely be a great. I think that would be a great on-screen permanent character for their own adventure. Um, Punch Out would be a lot of fun. I think you could definitely do that. One of the very first games I played at home. There was a lot out there. Low Spec says Mario's first appearance was in Donkey Kong Arcade Machine. It absolutely was. I played that arcade machine. Um, Metroid from Metroid. I don't know what that is. I do know Metroidvania. You remember that? CC needs a green chapeau, a green hat. I I probably have a green hat somewhere, but it would make my head disappear, or the top of my head anyway. But yeah, no, I think we've got a good future in front of us on screen. Speaking of having a good future, how about something that was maybe not ready yet, coming from maybe Sonic's universe? Um, and you
In other
remember that?
words, we are in the good future right now.
That's right. That's
We
right.
almost had this, folks. We almost had this culture.
Terrible. That is the worst art ever. I wanted to bring it up first on my share because it's a little bigger, but we could have had this. Is this what you wanted? Ugly
Oh.
Sonic? Ugly Sonic? Is that what you wanted? Was that it?
Someone greenlit this. Someone thought this was going to be okay. How many people had to be okay with this?
Too many.
Oh,
Too
my
many were.
goodness.
And that's the thing, right? Is I blow it up all to infinity. But that's almost what we got. It would have been like, okay, well, we really don't want this to be successful if that's what we ended up with. But I know you've got the whole story, so let me bring that in for everybody. Here you go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Culture. All right, guys, this comes from Game Rant by the wonderful Matthew Wilkinson. The title says, Sonic the Hedgehog leaks prove original design would have been a disaster. Now, I'm sure some of you might have recalled that some of this stuff leaked in the past, and yet again, here we are again with more nightmare fuel. So if you were thinking of having a good night's sleep tonight, folks, in the chat, unfortunately not. Because the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise has proven to be a monumental success. I'm so happy we can say that. With the trilogy grossing a combined $1.2 billion at the global box office, with a fourth movie already in the works. It is clear that this video game adaptation was one risk worth taking for Paramount. Sonic the Hedgehog has beautifully blended live action with CGI in a way that feels seamless, while also being energetic and full of action. However, the original designs for Sonic were anything but that, which led to a huge redesign before the original movie was released, and new leaks have proven just how close the movie came to being a disaster. I remember the original trailer. I don't know if you remember this, Culture, but do you remember the first trailer where it was set to Gangster's Paradise?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Look, it was bad for a lot of reasons, not just the song choice, but I think people got just absolutely frightened with the animation, and I think that really would have wrecked everything. I can't imagine that leading to a successful movie. So we dodged a bullet.
No. I am a firm believer when it comes to, because we've been having a lot of speculation, on like, for a lot of like comic book characters, like who would be a good choice to have these characters played in live action. And usually when there's a miscast that happens, people are like, well, could you, like, were there that many actors that could actually look like a fictitious character? And I am a counter, which I'm sure a lot of people disagree is, I would rather have a poor performance where the actor looks like the character than a stellar performance, but the actor looks nothing like the character. That's just a personal opinion, but I think there's a reason why people cling to cosplay so much or give fan films a pass, because even with a lower production budget, is because I think a design is like a good chunk of the movie. Because like if you want to read or see some for its narrative, I feel like you would read a book, whereas movies, there has to be an important visual element, or I feel like they won't care. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. But anyways, if we can bring this back to Sonic, he was originally going to look horrifying, and yeah, that's it lightly. Paramount did a good job with the visuals for Sonic, but it took multiple attempts to get that. The original design for the character was something that left fans frustrated with what had been created. And now a new leak has provided further glimpse at just how bad the design was. Dexerto released some footage that is considered to be lost media that the public wasn't supposed to see, giving a better look at how Sonic was going to appear. And it has left people stunned at the idea. Culture, what do you think of this beautiful, beautiful image right here on the right? Do you love it? Does it make your heart warm just looking at it?
Look at those chompers.
Those eyes. Makini draws in the chat. Says it looked like it was spoofing the Chip and Dale film. I'm like, those eyes are just horrible. I can't believe it. Ugh.
Yeah. And again, I mean, there was always this conversation in the background, like, well, they were never going to actually go with that character design. I'm like, it's in the trailer. What are you talking about? You know, they had to take a whole year to redesign and wireframe a more realistic looking Sonic that was much better looking. And so I was just like, you guys are silly.
Well,
And
it's funny. Back in the day, I was actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I was actually a believer in that theory where I was like, okay, this just like, how could anyone ever greenlit that? This is a PR stunt. This can't have been the original intention. And then as time goes on and the more I, learn about movie studios, the older I get, I've noticed, yeah, no, they really are that dumb. I can't give them the benefit of the doubt anymore. But to your point, Culture?
well, no, my point is it's just when you look at that character, you realize that the film would have tanked. And I think that, the trailer is all the evidence that you need that was originally the idea. I'm just grateful we didn't get that. So,
Me too. Very true. In fact, the article even goes on to say the redesign of Sonic likely saved the franchise in the long run. The original images of what has been planned for Sonic left fans extremely worried when the original trailer dropped for the 2020 movie. Given that video game adaptations had previously struggled at the big screen, we can name some examples on that. The expectation was that this would become the next example, as audience vocally shared their horror and disgust at how Sonic had been made to look. The problem was that Paramount seemingly tried to humanize Sonic in many ways, with the longer torso and limbs that made him more like a human boy than anything else. Plus, there was a lack of emotion in his face, which meant the delivery of Sonic's lines wouldn't have come across in the same manner that they ended up doing, which was the charm and humor. But they've benefited from listening to the fans, which a lot of studios that we've seen with like Disney, Warner Brothers, and company, they never listen to their fans, like hardly ever. They are lost in ego, and I think this definitely worked out in the long run with them. To close out the article, the redesign of Sonic highlights the type of power that audiences still have within the movie industry. As without their complaints and at that first trailer, it's unlikely that any alterations would have occurred. Without those changes, it's hard to imagine Sonic the Hedgehog having worked, let alone leading to a further 2 movies, as the character looked creepy rather than being relatable and family friendly. The original design wasn't inviting to young viewers who are ultimately the core target audience, and that's why the film wouldn't have been successful. On top of that, the merchandise sales wouldn't have been anywhere near as good either, as the original design was anything but marketable. That would have also hurt the franchise, as the ability to sell toys and t-shirts has been a big part of growing a family-friendly movie such as this, ensuring that the intellectual property constantly surrounds people. Culture, I'm going to try to close this out with a little question for you. So there's been a lot of discussion amongst, Sonic the Hedgehog fans on this first movie. The original Sonic design is, nightmare fuel. At the very end of the movie, in like a post-credits scene, which I don't think it's spoilers for a 5-year-old movie at this point, but if so, please chat, shield your ears for a good 10 seconds here. Tails appeared at the end of the movie, setting up the second movie. Fans are still insisting that there exists an OG design of Tails in this horrifying art style, but the studio just keeps and keeps denying it. Do you think they ever went that far to do it?
Nolan, I think they probably had a terrible design for Tails originally as well, because they had an idea for the first 3 characters they wanted to introduce. So my thoughts are they developed the 3 characters' original wireframe and art style, and we again dodged a bullet on both of the other characters that they were drawing into it. So, but because they had Tails and Knuckles built in from what they wanted to do, and I'm sure somewhere on a hard drive there exists 2 other very ugly characters.
It's like a looming shark in the water, It's like it's there, but you just want to deny it as much as possible. But hey, if those ever surface, we'll be there to cover it. So we'll see what the future holds. But I'll tell you, I know what my immediate future holds. I think we should check out and see what the chat's up to. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree with you. We got a lot of people out there looking at this, saying, just think the numbers you guys listed at the box office. That doesn't include merchandising. Oh, no, you're 100% right. The new design for Sonic definitely drove more merch sales across the board in the form of T-shirts, hats, and actual character memorabilia. You had better plastic toys and things like that came out. Much, much better. Have they looked at a hedgehog? I don't think so. Yeah. But Argentum says, I'm not even a big Sonic fan. And I made a big deal about it. I think we kind of all did. I was a little stinky about it on several videos on my channel. Carl's here. Thank you. Thank the redesign for saving Sonic the Hedgehog movie frame. I'm 100% with you. Yes, sir, Carl. Yes, sir. I bet they had a Tails prototype. I'm pretty certain that they do. The Knuckles one, well, we'll see, but it was crazy. Pam Epson is out there. Good to see you, dear. Nolan Thunder, your baseball cap is cool, and it easily does suit your you, honey. There you go. That's a nice comment.
Thank you, Pam. I'm not sure if she means the Mario hat or if she means like the normal hat. Like,
I think it probably was the Mario hat, my friend. I really do. It's me.
Thank you so much,
Nolan.
Pam.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
We just beat a big N on your head. But
oh my gosh.
The chat's looking great. But we have a headline. We have a headline as part of today's show. In fact, it's the leading headline. It's the leading conversation. And right here is going to be the thumbnail for this video when you see Nolan and I on a separate video from this live stream talking about stop killing games. Nolan, this is a big story, dude. You want to jump into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. But I just want to say before we get started here, it comes from That Park Place, which you should have bookmarked, and it comes from our good friend, editor-in-chief himself, Marvin Montanaro. So shout out to Marvin for writing this up for us. All right, Culture, are you ready to get into this juggernaut here?
I am. Let's do it.
All right. So, headline states here, Stop Killing Games. Petition hits 1 million signatures. European Commission now forced to respond. In a massive win for game preservation advocates, YouTuber Ross Scott's Stop Killing Games petition has officially crossed the 1 million signature threshold, triggering mandatory action from the European Commission. The campaign, which began as a passionate plea to preserve access to video games even after publishers shut down their servers, has exploded in recent days, surging past several 100,000 milestones in quick successions. With today's news, the movement enters a new phase, direct political engagement in the European Union. Yes, for once we actually want government intervention. The site says, we have cleared 1 million signatures. I hate being like this, but there's a chance a significant number of them aren't real. That means we have to keep signing in overdrive mode to make up for them. I'll have a video on this later today. The article goes on to state, the site says we have cleared 1 million signatures, Scott confirmed. I hate being like this, but there's a chance a significant number of them aren't real. That means we have to keep signing overdrive mode to make up for them. I'll have a video on this later today. The Stop Video Games petition was launched to oppose the growing trend of developers delisting or deactivating purchase games, sometimes permanently, even when the titles could be feasibly be preserved in offline single-player forms. Ubisoft's recent decision to pull The Crew from digital shelves and make it entirely unplayable served as a catalyst for the campaign. Before we continue much deeper into this, Culture, I know that I still have a copy from 1985, or even a few years after in release, of Mario Brothers plus Duck Hunt. And if I can get the right chords and stuff, I can still play that game in all its beauty on my TV. But yeah, only a game that came out a few years ago, The Crew, I can't play. What's your thoughts on all this? Do you think this might be a good cause, whether this exact petition is the right choice or not? Are you in favor of this kind of preservation to try to take the companies out of the picture to where a user, once they purchase, should have more ownership of their game?
Well, no, I'm a straight advocate for this. It's something I've been suggesting. It needs to be a piece of legislation immediately. I think that it's a crime that game studios can basically lock down their games and you don't actually own them or even the ability to play them. I think that if you bought a game, digital or physical, you own something. And I think that terms of services, EULAs, everything else associated with games need to be fit onto a 3x5 note card at 24 point print, because I think that if you know what you're giving away, you wouldn't be buying these games. In fact, I think a lot of people would say, "Look, I can lose this at any moment," like the the crew game, right?
Yeah.
But it's not tied to that. Even our brand new Nintendo stuff, that can get immediately locked out, and you could actually not just lose your game, but you could brick your whole thing, and that's also not cool. They shouldn't be able to penalize you for trying to utilize your console and make your console inoperable, therefore negating your purchase of it. So basically, you're stealing your money. And I think that's a problem. I think this is all being done to try to have more and greater control and eventually make it so that you can only play this if you have a good social credit score. I think that's the next step to shutting you down. So it's pretty garbage.
Yeah. Well, hey, I like your opinions on the matter here. And, if I can weigh in a bit before we continue on here, I remember, a few years ago when, the video stores eventually bit the bullet because of like Netflix and all of them, because, of streaming downloads. I thought the change with gaming on that aspect was going to be, okay, goodbye renting your games. You're just going to have to own your games now. Where it seems like a lot of companies have shifted more in a sense of like, hey, goodbye owning your game. Now you just kind of get the renting. And I understand, there's like certain numbers they're like trying to hit and all that, but there has to be time where the public and the consumer have to step in and like, just because, of some of their strategies, it doesn't necessarily mean they're evil. They're part of a corporate board, they're trying to do whatever hits in the best numbers, keep with competition. But unfortunately, a lot of greed has bled into the gaming industry. I think we've seen this with EA, we've seen this with Ubisoft, and now, there's a lot of people in powerful positions that are able to capitalize on this sort of thing. And I think it's our job as a consumers, to reject this. Gaming's not a necessity, it's not food, and tell them like, hey, there's a time we have to draw a line, and that at the end of the day, entertainment is there to serve the people, not the people serving the product. And I think seeing about all these signatures is a very good sign showing that gamers want this sort of thing. But let's continue on the article because there's still a bit more here to unpack.
Well, we may have another voice on that one.
Ooh, I think you should bring him in because I'd like to get some fresh opinions outside of our own.
Sounds
Ladies
good.
and gentlemen, Culture, can you please bring on our good friend here? Kevin Apollo.
Welcome.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Great to see you.
Thank you for joining us. You came in at the perfect time. We're actually talking about the Stop Killing Games initiative, which is basically initiative to basically have it to where, a lot of these games, that people have been purchasing online and getting delisted to where you can't play them anymore. They're basically doing a petition to try to make it so where consumers get their product, if the game goes offline, you can still have a single player experience or some sort of thing to where you can maintain ownership of your game. Do you have anything you'd like to weigh in on before we continue on the article?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on this a little bit last week. I do think it's ridiculous that we're approaching a space where you don't actually own anything that you buy. So we're essentially just, it's all glorified renting a license for a couple of, until they decide they don't want to let you have the license anymore. / with the forcing people into the multiplayer experience, online gaming experience. If the server goes down, you can't play your game. We've got to find a nice happy medium that lets the consumer be able to enjoy themselves after they drop $60, $70, $80 on something. We can't be pigeonholed into a very specific kind of experience because a CEO like at the top of EA decides that we need the game experience to be this way so that we can bleed you to death from microtransactions. So good for them. And this is from the Europeans. I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know. What a win. Like, I really hope that this can have a greater domino effect on the gaming industry. And I love your take, man. Thank you. So let's go ahead and continue on with the article a bit more, get some more details for those unaware. Now that the 1 million signature milestone has been reached, EU law requires the Commission to formally respond. Scott will also be granted the opportunity to present the initiative during a public hearing at the European Parliament. That this creates a rare and powerful platform to challenge what many see as one of the gaming industry's most anti-consumer practices. The petition core's demands are simple. If a game is delisted, players should receive a refund, or the game should remain accessible via preserved offline mode. And I'll tell you, if they're forced to pay a refund, especially when you have those games, like let's take like a Concord, for example, it got yoinked pretty early on and the game didn't do very well. That could theoretically cost the studio even more money. Yeah. So at the end of the day, if this goes through, these companies are going to have to take this stuff pretty seriously. Would you agree with that, Culture?
No, I think they should. And I think we should be entitled to refunds. Full price that we paid originally if these games go offline. I think the studios should be on the hook for making up that loss of value. In fact, I think they should have to pay a penalty. Do you realize how quickly they would change their tune if there were a financial repercussion that they had to pay back twice what the consumer paid?
Yes, we might even get back into a second golden age,
Yeah.
And to continue the article a bit here, support for the campaign has snowballed, thanks to in part to the endorsements from gaming influencers like PewDiePie, who urged followers to support the cause, and former World of Warcraft developer Mark Kern, Grums, who told that Park Place the movement reflects long-standing preservation goals he's championed for decades. He stated, "Games cannot just vanish, and I've taken a pledge with our own games that if we no longer support a game, that we will release the code and license that game to gamers who want to keep it going," Grum said. "This is the way forward, and that makes the most sense to us."
Well, let me jump in on that because it's Grum specifically. You realize that Vanilla WoW stayed alive because of private servers. It was all because of Grums, as far as I've heard. I don't know if I can confirm that, but people you could actually log in outside of the original servers, the Europa and the other one, the two main server locations. You could actually go to one of the private servers. I played private Warcraft on several servers as well. No. So that was before they gave back Vanilla WoW to the fans. So you could play in the old style with the old grind, with the old stuff. I mean, I used to love doing that, but I'm weird.
There's nothing more infuriating than, like a game becoming lost media. I cover this kind of stuff all the time, and it's one of those where, like once it's released to the public, and especially if it's been like less than 5 years, I personally believe, it's art. The public deserves to see said art, and I first heard of this from Moist Critical on his YouTube channel, and I've just been seeing gamers after gamers just vouching for like, this is huge, and it just shows the disconnect between, the corporation, the consumer, and I think this is a perfect opportunity, to hopefully get some correction and hopefully get a little bit more peace in the gaming spheres. And most of the heating debates can go back to Nintendo versus PlayStation or something. But one more thing on the subject. While the EU must now engage with the petition, Scott's caution about non-EU signatures not being counted means there's still work to do. Fans across the globe are continuing to sign in overdrive mode to ensure a clean, verified count. So this is definitely Operation Overdrive here. Whether the EU ultimately enacts legislation remains to be seen. But the pressure on game publishers is already mounting. At the very least, the Stop Killing Games petition has forced an international conversation about consumer rights, game ownership, and digital media preservation. Kevin, I want to ask you this. If I could ask you a little bit about your memory here when it comes to, video game preservation. Have you ever seen, because, there's been petitions all over the world. There's a petition for, like, pretty much everything, it feels like. And, there's been demand, to stop things from becoming vaporware. I did a article on this for that Park Place a while back where I've, like, the double-edged sword of gaming is, it was always advertised as a product of the future, going back to Nintendo and Atari. That took way too long for this industry to be taken seriously as far as preservation goes for the product. Have you ever seen a movement as big as what we're seeing here with Stop Killing Games?
Specific to gaming, no, not really. Which is why I think this is pretty cool, because I do think it is something that is a little long overdue. There's just so much, especially when you look at games. There's just so much content that's just gone. It just once once you stop using your old system, if you're back, like if you're someone who had a Commodore 64, once you stop having actual floppy disks and things like that, it was just gone. It was just gone. So you had to know someone who had a certain skill set, who knew how to kind of either emulate it or port it over. And up until what I honestly want to say, really up until really the last 15 years, people with that kind of skills were they were very few and far between.
Yeah.
So
a very particular set of skills. I'm telling you right now. I will find you, and I will kill you. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't think of a better note to end off on than that. That's perfect. We're moving on. Thank you. We'll see what happens in the future with this. And the best thing to do, if y'all want this to succeed, if you're eligible and able to, sign this thing to where it will affect, the area you're from or whatever the legality goes with that. If you have an opportunity and you're passionate about it, go for it. I can't make that choice for you, but it's nice to finally see something to where it seems like the gamers can take some action, and hopefully we'll get some results. I know I'm hoping for it. But anyways, I think Culture, the chat's been weighing in. They got a lot of opinions on Stop Killing Games here. Can we get some attention to the beautiful chat out there?
Absolutely. Chris Dickerson loves him some Mr. T Night Elf Mohawk. Me too. One of my favorites. Vanilla WoW was great. I grabbed Forza Horizon 4 before they took it off the store shelves. That was due to the car licenses expiring. Yep. It's insane. I mean, the idea that you could lose music or any of the other things there, you guys are spitting facts. I do believe game companies should do a better job of archiving their code bases and assets. I think that's a natural thing to do. I think especially if you're about to go out of business, just cough up, all your stuff for people to use, make it free to use. You're not going to use it anymore.
And that stuff can be a blessing too, because you never know when you're going to end up needing it later. That's how we found out a lot of times in the lost media community about, canceled Mario games or Nintendo projects, or let's forbid, I heard a while back that Silent Hill 2, I think that they had somehow lost the original source code and they basically had to build the game.
They rebuilt it all over again. Yep, they rebuilt it all over again. Speaking of building things all over again, GOG has done good work getting old games into their library, and I think that's great. And obviously, if you buy something on Steam won't take it down unless they're forced to. But here's something everybody should know. Go subscribe to the House of Apollo right now. A channel is coming soon. You will enjoy it. You will. I will make you enjoy it. And so will this guy down here. That's right. Kevin Apollo's channel is coming. We're going to have to work together. I'm willing to work with anybody who wants to get something like that done. Anyway, sorry about that, Nolan. What's the plan, my friend?
All right. Well, I think it's time we shift to some, if we keep the good news going here, this is something that could end in a lot of delight or tragedy, and I'll be crying myself to sleep every night. We'll see about that. The news is that despite layoffs at Xbox Rare, Crash Bandicoot 4 and Spyro Remake devs are reportedly among the studios really interested in a new Banjo-Kazooie game. Have you guys heard the name Banjo-Kazooie in the past 20 years, guys?
So I'm going to tell you, we've been talking about this potential title for a long time. And, but they're listening to them. And this could have really happened. And this, again, we had to bring you a bunch of good news today. I think this is a great idea. And they closed up a bunch of their phone studios. I would be interested in a Crash Bandicoot, but I'm weird. So.
Well, I'm with you, man. These games were staples. They were always fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just nice to be able to jump into a moderately challenging game and just kind of lose yourself. So bringing back these old school titles and these fun mascots, I think it's pretty cool. Don't forget Conkers, though, guys. Conkers needs.
Oh man, Conker would be. Conquer would be the next Stellar Blade in this industry with the starved content people want for unpolitically correct games. Calling it now. Maybe not the same on the sales charts, but it would do pretty well. But this story comes from us from Games Radar, and it comes from us by Con Saren, and it goes on to say, when you purchase through... Oh, that's an ad. Well, sorry, folks. This week's... Oh, man, getting the free advertisement here. This week's layoffs across multiple Xbox studios left thousands of developers without a job, including several at Sea of Thieves developers Rare, which also had its original game Everwild canceled after years of production. But despite the devastating cuts, the iconic studio is reportedly still listening to pitches about a Banjo-Kazooie revival, and some of the interested developers sound perfect for the Bird and Bear duo. In the VGC podcast, reporter Andy Robinson said that he heard more recently that pitches are being listened to about bringing back Banjo-Kazooie, the company's excellent Nintendo 64 platformer that still retained a dedicated fan base all these years later. More interesting are the developers who are apparently eager to see the googly-eyed series make a comeback. I heard constantly the name that comes up is Toys for Bob of Crash Bandicoot 4 and the Spyro remake, who really want to do one. Funnily enough, I heard Moon Studios of Ori and the Blind Forest as well was another one who's really interested. There's always talk about interest. Even the dog is interested. A cartoon, a movie, constant. It's a notable development because for years, Rare was said to be laser focused on new original games, hence why it hasn't made a sequel in more than a decade. I wonder if those sales charts played a matter of that. I wonder. The talk for ages was that, there's always outside interest in Banjo, but Rare were not interested, Robinson said. I mean, former director Greg Mayles, who left the studio after the layoffs, is someone who doesn't look back, notoriously. He said, this is on the record, that he likes to do new stuff. The attitude from the studio leadership was, no, we're gonna do new things. For now, Moon Studios is still smoothing out its early access action RPG, No Rest for the Wicked. Meanwhile, Toys for Bob already confirmed it's working on another game with Xbox. Given the studio's history, it's likely another Crash or Spyro, but the developer has gone on record before to express its interest in Banjo-Kazooie, so who knows what's next. Kevin, I'm going to give you the first word on this. Okay, do you think there is a possibility, we've seen him in Smash, we've seen him on a statue, could we be living in a timeline where Nolan is a very happy man here? Give me your 2 cents here.
I hope so. I think it's possible. Sometimes I wonder if the real reason that we don't get a lot of sequels to beloved titles is, especially when it comes to a Western studio, their bad habit of terminating the entire team as soon as the game is out. Because you do suffer a massive talent loss. And that knowledge does not always come back, and you got to scramble to get people to relearn how to do something. And then sometimes it's just easier to say we want something new, or we only do new things. You can listen. The thing about an IP is that you can always do something new with the IP. It just, as long as it's a good story and it's fun, people don't care. We sent Jason Voorhees to space. We sent the Leprechaun to the hood and to the moon. Just give people different experiences. No one's going to complain about it.
Leprechaun meets the Bear and the Bird. Actually, if they made a Jason X crossover with Banjo-Kazooie, I'd be the first in line. I mean, that might be the next nuts and bolts, but I'm for it. What about you, Culture? What do you want to see coming out of this?
I think since, we're sending things to space, like, the Fast and the Furious team in Cars, I think any of that would work as well. But no, honestly, I think that a lot of these older IPs could do so with some refreshing. It'll also help them retain them, and maybe inspire a film version of some of this classic stuff. I mean, Spyro, however you want to say that name. That's one of those that you actually could probably find a way to develop a movie property for it. So you just need to refresh the stuff that you own in the best possible way. And I'm with Davina Duckworth. you don't get rid of your teams when you're done with a game. You've got to retain that talent, find a new project for them to work on. I know you're, wanting to sit back and eat some popcorn for a couple of years and pretend that you're a rock star, but you're not. You don't get to sit on your laurels for a decade. You need to keep making games. So, I think that's, despite the fact that it's a chronic development cycle, that's how you get better and better games. It's how you get better and better game engines. It's how you get better everything. Spend the time doing the development, keep the people that are doing the development, have them work on a much improved thing regularly. Even if you have to turn into, Unreal, right? You have to turn into Epic and have Unreal. So the future is really, unfortunately for a lot of these studios, and that includes, film and television, is in the past, because you don't have people who write stories anymore. You have people who write, sermons, and the audience isn't interested in sermons. So go back to the past, fix your stuff.
Preacher banjo.
Yeah.
And in defense of Ludacris and Tyrese being sent into space, that scene in the Fast and Furious was more scientifically accurate than anything we got out of the 3 seasons of Star Trek Discovery.
Wow. That's saying something.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Well, that was
so
wild.
I hope everybody's excited for Banjo-Kazooie Go to Space. I know I'm going to be buying me a copy. And I know there's a lot of opportunity. I know Toys for Bob, they went independent a little while back, and hopefully this means they get a little more creative say in, their pitches, what they can be in charge of. And I know they got a talented team. Like, they've left doors open, like they've had interest in doing more Crash projects. We know in the Spyro Remastered, they left a whole door that was in the game that pretty much went to nowhere. You couldn't access. So they definitely have a future planned ahead at them. And if there was one developer I feel like I could trust, outside of Nintendo for Banjo-Kazooie, it would be them. So let's see what the future holds. But Banjo-Kazooie for space, make it happen. Make it happen.
I'm good.
But,
with that.
I think... So speaking of making things happen, anything happening in that chat there, Culture?
Yeah, I've been highlighting everybody as we've been talking here in the background, and no rare games since Battletoads 2020. Yeah, and again, I think that's one of the reasons why I think studios just need to stay in a development cycle. I know that they're looking to cash in and satisfy investors or whatever, but believe me, you don't want to disassemble the team that's working on GTA 6 now that they're extracting as much of the message from it as they possibly can, in desperation over 2 massive delays. But just keep them working on the next game, and that's kind of the future. I still think you guys are right. I mean, a Spyro movie would be great. Spyro movie, however you want to say that.
Well, you had me a little scared there, Culture. We're talking about Banjo-Kazooie idea of a movie, because I'm afraid they'll make it Kazooie sound like a female Guilford Godfrey or something like that, and I don't think I'm ready for that the whole movie.
Nah, I think it'll be fine.
I have a Spyro story real quick.
Yeah.
Please share.
My senior year of high school, my physics teacher, I think he was in his mid-50s. He had a really young son, and there was a board that he could not complete it for his son. So he offered 50 points on the final for anybody who was willing to play this board and beat it for him, and I jumped on it. And and oddly enough, it was extremely difficult, I do have to say. But once I got it, he told me to call him at his house, tell him how I did it. Came into school the next day, gave me his memory card, had me do it again for him, and then boom, 50 plus points.
See? That's the way you get bonus points. Bribe your teachers with game completions, level completions. Yeah, that's great. Speaking of great though, thank you out there in the chat. We appreciate you. You guys are just being here all the time and contributing to the channel really does help. We're trying to get this thing kicked back up into full speed, and so apparently is Sony. This is a weird moment, right, Nolan?
Yes. Sony gives update on PlayStation 6 development. This is coming from Game Rant by Gabriel Machado Pereza. And I find it weird we're even talking about the PlayStation 6 right now. But there was a little leak, if y'all remember, like a few months ago or so. Actually, it might not even been a few months ago. It might have only been like a month ago. Yeah. And something listed the PlayStation 6 as a possible platform for a game, and it had the gears turning everyone's brain. I'm like, are we already about ready to initiate the PlayStation 6? Gentlemen, do you recall that craziness?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I think that's what this story kind of dives into. And I always think that the moment that kind of a mistake is made, that it kind of signals like the start of what's actually happening. So ask yourself, how far along in the PlayStation 5 development cycle are we? Because the minute we get an upgrade, that's the midpoint. And from the midpoint, count back as many years. That's how many years until they release the next platform. So anytime you get a Pro or something like a version of something, just start counting back. How many years was that? Okay, this is how many years out we are. So the PS5 Pro just came out, says Argentum. So what are we looking for now? The PlayStation 6.
To buy more systems. Give Sony your money, baby.
Yeah, there's nothing developed for the 5. I mean, how many games came out with the 5?
Well, let's see. We got Astrobot, Stellar Blade, and Astrobot, and a Stellar Blade. That one was on there. And Kevin, help me out here. Am I forgetting any games?
I have one. I don't even know what came out.
I thought you were about to say you have a game, but you don't even know what it's called. Like, just look at your whole shelf. It's just nothing but Astrobots and Stellar Blade.
I mean, the dumbest buys I made were getting the new Xbox and the newest PlayStation. Because I just haven't done anything with it. I spent more time getting retro games for it than I got new games. I think I got Elden Ring and stopped playing that when I accidentally got rid of a sword that I built up. Like, I'm not doing this again. The sequel to the Final Fantasy remake, that's about it. Everything else has either been a dud, like what's it, the stupid Starfield. Other than that, it's like, well, what came out for this? What came out for these systems? I'm a little offended that they kind of have the audacity to be like, oh, hey, we got a new system on the way soon, but we haven't actually given you anything for the current one you have. At least find a way to eke out one major hit. Oh wait, they did have a hit, right? What was it? Before they ruined it with a brand new girl boss. What was the samurai game? I can't think of what it was called.
Oh, Assassin's Creed.
No.
Shadows. Oh, are you talking about the one that they're working on? Ghost of Yotai.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. The ghost of whatever it was. we had one actual big hit of the game. Everything else has just been like.
Yeah, I mean they're not really exclusives because I mean like the Final Fantasy remake games and everything else, those are available on multiple different consoles / computer / stuff. PS5 had Claire Obscure and Stellar Blade. Yeah, they had, like I said, it's just Horizon Zero Dawn garbage tasticness. And oh wait, don't forget about Forspoken, guys. Come on now.
Oh yeah,
and Marvel's Spider-Man remastered. They basically remade all the Spider-Man games. There really isn't anything that's good. I mean, let's just be honest. PS5 was
There's
empty.
Too many remakes is part of the issue here. And I know I might be a little bit of a hypocrite because I have a Switch 2 and that has like a whole one game. But at the same time, that system's been out for a few weeks now. This has been out for like, 5 years now? Like almost that? It's insanity. But before my Nintendo fanboy, unless you want to weigh in anything in your culture, let's get into the story here a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Sony has been working on its upcoming console for several years, which, before anyone freaks out, that's pretty common. If those who know gaming history, once the system comes out, they immediately start work on the next one already. So that wouldn't be too much for panic. But to continue, yet it appears that the PlayStation 6 is still not on track for its release anytime soon. While Sony is collaborating with AMD to devise the PlayStation 6, it seems that it may still be some years before PlayStation fans can finally get their hands on it. The PlayStation 5 was released in November of 2020, at the same time as the Xbox Series X/S/terrible name. Since then, the PS5 has sold over 65 million units, and recent reports indicate that it outsold the PS4 by 7% in the first 52 months on the market. Yowzers. Okay, all right. Now, lead PlayStation console architect Mark Cerny has been interviewed by Tom's Guide and updated fans on the development of the PlayStation 6. According to Cerny, Sony is collaborating with AMD to devise its upcoming console, and the company is trying to come up with better machine learning algorithms and CNNs, convolutional neural networks. Dang. For improving game graphics. However, despite the fact that AMD is moving extremely quickly on its technology, Cerny acknowledged that the console's release may take a while, as Sony is trying to prepare for the next generation of consoles. So the time frame of this project was described as multi-year. In other words, the PS6 will not be released anytime soon. So, all right, gentlemen. So we already kind of dived into, the PS5 not seeming to have that many games. What about, when do you think we can realistically see this thing hitting the market?
Well, console generations are sometimes 7, 8, 9, 10 years between. Just depends on, what their desire is to do. If technology's made as great a leap, if there's something that can be harnessed that isn't already being done. Obviously we have a bunch of AI and frame things where we're now generating fake frames on cards now. That's what's happening in the latest series of the NVIDIA cards. I think maybe that's about it. And if they're going with AMD, they're going to have to stack a few of these to get the kind of power that they're going to need to be competitive visually with a lot of what a modern PC can do now. So I don't know. I'm sure there's suggestions as to what they'll put in this, but this thing could be here anytime in the next 3 or 4 years, I would guess. That'd be my guess.
What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I was thinking probably the next 2 to 3 years. I kind of feel like we soft gave up on the current gen. Just going to kind of probably honor whatever contracts and agreements they have out there, and then it's on to the next thing, and hopefully they find a way to kind of get everybody excited about it. It's just you know what? Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy game, actually, I really thoroughly enjoyed. I have one game. I've had this system for 5 years.
Yeah, I agree, gentlemen. I think that it's going to be a hot minute yet. Sony tends to operate on different time than, say, Nintendo does. And, I think they'll hold on to it until they're really happy with their tech. Because that's one thing they always push throughout the history. Like, Microsoft's been very, inconsistent in their direction of where they want the brand to go over the years. Nintendo always tries to think outside the box with older technology. Sony, they got pride on the technology. Even when the PS3 had some controversial headlines back in the day, I know that they had a lot of pride within their organization of how much of a beast they created, so to speak. And I can only assume that they're hoping for the same thing with the PlayStation 6 here. To close out the article, Sony has promised a new upgrade for the PS5 Pro in 2026, which will update its PSSR, PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution features, which are also a result of Sony's partnership with AMD. According to one of Cerny's previous interviews, Sony expects to produce results similar to AMD's FSR for upscaling tech, which could be a huge perk for gamers who invested in the PS5 Pro. Time will tell whether this increased focus on the PS5 Pro means that gamers won't be seeing the PS6 anytime soon. PS6 is going to take a while to get used to saying, like, SSS. Maybe I'm okay with them delaying this thing so I don't have to do that acronym for a while. That's just me.
Well, it's people are going to screw that up, talking about it on YouTube. So just be prepared.
True. But, Yeah, so we'll see what the future holds for the PlayStation 6, but you know what? I'm excited to see what they do and inevitably disappoint me. I mean, excited for what the future holds for them. But you know what I'm actually really excited about, Culture? We have some very generous people in our audience. And I believe we have some super chats.
Yeah,
Would you
we've
like
got
to bring them up on screen?
Yeah, you bet. We've got a superstar out there, Nolan.
Woo! Our leader of the Lost Guys.
That's right. Yeah, a Hangry Table HT, Canadian 27.99. Holy cow! Yeah, shout out about it. Shout out about it. Anyway, yeah, you game guys got good game. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that.
We have more games than the PlayStation 3, everybody. We got more games.
we do, actually. Collectively, we have a lot of games. But no, and then we got another one follow up, and thank you for that generosity there, Hangry.
Thank you, Hangry. You rock.
Yeah, we got a follow up for Mark Fields for $2.25. Thank you, my friend, saying, what's that? Positive. Positive. That's right. Positive vibes to you all. Positive vibes to you, Mark. Thank you for your support on many different channels, my friend. I hope you are doing well on this lovely Saturday. Not in the park. Anyway.
And Mark, I love the bird in your icon. It's beautiful. And Hangry, you know we love you, brother. Thank you for all the support as always. Yeah. Any other chats we want to feature here before we go on the next story, Mr. Culture?
Yeah, Davina says that I think they should bring the console prices down. Me too. That'd be the logical step. Get people more access to them. The PS2 and PS3 were great once developers figured out how to get the most out of their hardware. Yeah, I mean, and to not cook themselves. Let's be honest. The PS3, the big box, the original, the one that could go back in time and play PS2 games, you know, the Fat Boy. That thing cooked itself. If you didn't lock it down, sometimes you had to resolder things. And now those are starting to self-eliminate because the batteries on them, the little watch batteries that are on them, are toasting out. So that's no bueno. But they definitely should bring the prices down. And Tom is lurking. Tom is lurking in the background. Thank you for that, my friend. Thanks for being here and wrenching. And of course, look at all these great beings. Let's see. PS3, both the PS3 and Xbox had serious issues. They certainly did. Speaking of serious issues, one of my favorite console companies out there. Oh, wait. Nope, that's not where we're going. One of my favorite cartoons from the old days, the really, really old days, the super duper old days, you know, the crazy old days, the wild old days, is back again. And they're not shady. Well, I guess at times they were shady. But let's talk about this, Nolan. You wanna lead the party on this one as I bring up the beautiful image?
Would love to.
All right.
I will be a firm but fair lord, good sir.
There you go.
All right. So this comes from the good folks over at Cartoon Brew. Not necessarily the first spot you would think about for some video game news, but video games are going to intertwine with video games a bit today. Because the recent story is that a shelved 2003 Animaniacs video game is now playable after resurfacing online. This comes from Jamie Lang, and I'd like to get into this story a bit because this is a huge lost media find for the community.
It is enormous.
Yes. The article goes on to say that a long-lost Game Boy Advance title starring Warner Brothers' much-loved Animaniacs has resurfaced on the Hidden Palace Game Preservation Forum. Oh, Hidden Palace, that takes me back. Marking a significant rediscovery for retro gaming fans and nostalgic animation enthusiasts alike. A nearly completed version of Animaniacs Hollywood Hypnotics, once thought to be dead and buried, dang, has been released to the public in a playable state thanks to Hidden Palace contributor Mr. Pinball 64 and Bill Scott Socks. Developed by British studio Full Fat Productions. That's a name you don't hear anymore. The game was originally conceived before the Game Boy Advance had even launched as one of the studio's earliest internal projects. So here's some screenshots found within the game. Like, we have some crystal clear, and I gotta say the graphics for 2003 are rather impressive here. We even have the good old nurse right here. He even has the Hello Nurse subtitle. That makes me happy. Guys, did you ever watch Animaniacs back in the day?
Yes. We're Animaniacs. We have paid in full contracts. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I might have watched that a little bit, but it was cool because it played on multiple levels. It played on a more adult level, and of course, a kid level, which is what good animation used to do. It's why people still love the Looney Tunes to this very day. But Animaniacs, what's great about this is these are full rendered titles, so they didn't have to do anything. They just had to drop these pixels up there, and the only thing they had to map was the shading and the select. That was it for that title screen. But I love this. I mean, I had a Game Boy, Game Boy Advance Color. So
nice.
Yeah. What about you, Kevin? Were you at the Animaniacs back in the day?
I loved Animaniacs. Come on, you had the time. You had to jump from Power Rangers you had to jump from Fox to Kids WB after school.
Oh yeah.
If my bus was home early enough, I'd be home to catch the tail end of VR Troopers. But
there you go.
All about Animaniacs. I love the fact that it looks like I know this is for the Advance, which I just found my my Game Boy Advance not too long ago, digging through some boxes. The batteries, a little rough.
Well, yeah. But by the way, you can replace those actually fairly easily. I have one of the clear blue ones, so taking them apart.
That's what I have.
Yeah. But no, you can actually do that. I bought the lighted screen cover and everything, because I'm a freak show. So that would stay together in good shape. It just needed a battery shift. But the other thing that I found not too long ago when I was reaching into an old travel backpack was a PSP. Wow. With the UMD discs in it. Yeah, nice. So I'm like, okay, there you go. Nice. I love it.
Those could be a pretty penny these days. Like, I'm kind of low-key jealous.
Yeah. I was like, wow, all my original games in here. And it reminded me just how many times I bought a game. Like between UMDs and the the PlayStation discs and everything else, I was like, man, I bought a lot of games. Like on multiple systems. Like I'm an idiot. But
my Nintendo fans coming out, but take notes, PlayStation 5, take notes. But speaking of the notes of history.
Yeah, the images on this are great. And if I could find one of these, I would be buying it like a maniac.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Tiny Toons game.
Yes. I was a Tiny Toons kid. That song will forever be engraved in my head. I'll be in the retirement home, probably whistling a tune of that song, getting the other old folks to be singing along with me. If I could bring a little more attention to actually the history of this, the article goes on to say that after enduring a rocky development cycle, an early variant of the game was shelved before being picked up by Swing Entertainment, at which point Full Fat returned to work on a new version. Presumably, the one now available online, the new version's development was equally problematic, resulting in a nearly finished project being stuck in limbo. Though it appeared the game had reached manufacturing prep in 2003, artwork for the German packaging, Sehr gut, of the game has been available online for years. Yes!
Sehr gut!
Thank you, Culture! The packaging for the game has been available online for years and can be seen below. Swing's insolvency that same year effectively buried the title, which was a shame. And here you can get a nice view of the box art. And I gotta say, it's kind of surprising, and it doesn't surprise me this game was stuck in limbo, because Animaniacs, I believe, was off the air for quite a few years by 2003. It's not too often you get a tie-in game that late.
Yeah, but people watched them on reruns. Ask Kevin. I mean, the Animaniacs were popular forever.
For a long time.
So...
I struggled to get Animaniacs reruns. I got Tiny Toons, but I couldn't get... And yep, we have Pinky and the Brain here in all his beautiful 32-bit glory, or whatever the GBA ran.
Yeah.
The rediscovered prototype. Oh, sorry, Culture against them?
No, I mean, I didn't care. To me, you have to remember back then on handhelds, fidelity wasn't as, worshipped back then. You just wanted good art and things that looked like, you knew when to jump, and I mean, this is a platformer game, so the jump button worked very hard.
Yeah, it's like all of our favorite characters. Like the game looks spot on what the show was like, and though it was clearly unfinished in parts, the game plays surprisingly well and was definitely close to a finished product. It's a bit more rudimentary than most GBA games, a given since it was one of the handheld's earliest commissioned titles, and it plays more like something from the previous generation of consoles. That's amplified by the reported use of enhanced sprites from the 1994 Sega Genesis Animaniacs game. Whoa, that's a throwback, but adds a nostalgic charm. Speaking of charming, Kevin, you're charming. I find you charming. What do you think? Would you have been all over this back in 2003? Were you about ready to break out that GBA and play some of this?
Yeah. Especially if for Animaniacs, I would have dropped some money to throw that in my GBA. Absolutely.
Yeah, this
working at KB too, so I would have milked that discount.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm telling you, some of these were just great, and yeah, the idea that I mean, I guarantee you, half the audience here does not know what a sprite is.
Oh no. Our audience is cultured. If you're into gaming, I think they know what a sprite is. At least I hope, but I don't think they know who these characters are. Oh god. But anyways, to finish out the article. The resurfacing of Hollywood Hypnotics helps fill a gap in Animaniacs history and is a further reminder of why media presentation is so important in such a hot-button topic today. I think it means preservation there. The article, I think, means say, not to speak on their behalf. But great article written up by them. Thanks to the dedicated preservationists, Animaniacs Hollywood Hypnotics can now be experienced by fans of the original 90s series and its recent Hulu reboot, 2 decades after it was nearly lost forever. And you know what? That makes me a very happy Nolan Thunder right here. Any closing thoughts, gentlemen, before we move on?
We have a very wise chat that are trying to tell me reaching back in time with all their ancient systems, like the Trash 80 and the tape-driven VIC-20, which I had one of myself. So yeah, I had all those ancient machines too. Everybody calm down. You know, I tell you what, the cartridges in the the Commodore 64 were massive, and they were the best 8-bit graphics you could get at the time. So everybody calm down.
What about you, Mr. Kevin?
No, I'd actually go buy this right now.
Yeah, me too. I'd play this on an emulator, man. Yeah. I'll go look for one. So, but no, we oftentimes get nothing but bad stories, and today we've been bringing you just all the loving, and a little Mick loving in there too. Speaking of Mick loving, I love. Huh?
I was gonna say I love the chat. But I want to know what you were gonna go with that.
No, I was gonna say I appreciate Pam Epson, who sent us a super chat with £2 sterling. It's proper money, but left the language out. So here's what she meant to send. I forgot to put my message in Culture Casino. Well, there you go. Just a little kick to start your channel. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we are restarting it, jump-starting it back to operation, and I'm very fired up. Juliet is calling me
fully operational YouTube channel.
Well, yeah, and look, Juliet's calling me out over here. I'm a little fruity tonight. A little fruity. Okay. I mean, what do you call this? I'm a fruit cocktail. That's what I am tonight. Although, I could be a fruity drink, which would be okay too. Nolan, the chat was on fire. You still have original Sony Walkman, Juliet? That's crazy.
Wow.
What? Nice. I want to see. You're putting my CRT TV that I drove like 6 hours for and tried to load up in a Camaro and kind of damaged my car because of how heavy it was to shame.
Dude.
Did you flip it like the Flintstones?
Oh, no. That would be funny as heck. No, I bet you had the ProScan, this ProScan 36-inch CRT that weighed 600 pounds. That thing was a giant CRT. Speaking of giant CRTs, we're fascinated as a culture with shrinking everything down, Nolan. I mean, everything's getting smaller, including consoles. And, console performance maybe isn't quite the same as the bigger ones, but they always have little extra features to add accessories and things like that. And you know what? Nintendo is no different, except...
Boom! Nintendo has placed restrictions on the Nintendo Switch 2's USB-C port. Watch out, people. You're going to have to learn about this because you're going to need to be cautious in some of your purchasing habits here if you're looking for some third-party things. This once again comes from Game Rant, who's been helping, had quite a few articles here today, so thank you to them. And it comes from...
They've been doing great.
Yes, and this comes from the man named James Ratcliffe. So thank you, good sir, for making this article for us. The article goes on to state, the USB-C ports of the Nintendo Switch 2 include some encryption chips and methods that restrict which accessories can be used on the system, according to reports from some accessory makers. While some third-party accessories will still work as intended on the Switch 2, third-party docks for Nintendo's newest console may become scarce compared to its predecessor. The Switch 2 has two USB-C ports located on the top and bottom of the console. Alongside charging the Switch 2 in handheld mode, the topside USB-C port can be used to connect accessories, including the Nintendo Switch 2 camera that I still don't know how many people are using that thing, and similar products from manufacturers like Logitech. By comparison, the bottom side USB-C port is primarily used to connect the Switch 2 to its dock, which enables features like 4K output and Ethernet connectivity to a router. Both ports can be used to keep the system battery topped off via the AC adapter included with the Switch 2. However, the bottom side USB-C port of the Switch 2 also includes some features that dictate which docks made for Nintendo's hit system will work. As reported by The Verge, two third-party accessories makers claim that the Nintendo Switch 2's USB-C ports includes encryption methods and an extra chip that limits the accessories that will work with the new console. The accessories makers stated that Nintendo's encryption measures were intentionally made to restrict third-party access to the Switch 2. When the Switch 2 is connected to its dock, the USB-C port sends out instructions to deliver both power and access to features like HDMI video. While some third-party docks are currently available for the Switch 2, their long-term use may be limited due to firmware updates that Nintendo could implement to change its encryption methods. All right, gentlemen, I want you to weigh on this. Before I just want to just kind of say, like, anytime there's like a glitch, maybe it's my gaming purists and preservationists, but even when there's a glitch, unless it's like game breaking, I hate when they do updates that fix it. And now we can see it's going to possibly take some third-party accessories out of the market, which was probably frustrating to them. Gentlemen, what's your two thoughts? Kevin, want to start?
Sure. Boo, Nintendo. Come on.
Culture, your point.
I don't have $400 for a controller. Let me use the knockoff.
Yeah,
Mad Cats, baby.
Yeah, well, actually, Mad Catz controllers. I got one sitting next to me. It's like 15 years old at this point, still rocking it.
I'd ask if it works, but that thing probably never worked.
What, the Mad Catz controller? I've got it sitting right here. It kicks butt. I was playing some of that Assassin's Creed Shadows with it, so everybody calm down. They're fine. What's not fine is that they really are trying to lock down and license out every aspect of this console. Because if you buy the license to produce the whatever the accessory is, Nintendo will allow you skate around the encryption bologna sausage. But this is really just a ploy to lock down their hardware even more. Not to mention the fact that sometimes third-party stuff is vastly superior. And I kind of like the idea of, the old Pro controllers that Nintendo came out with, but other companies eventually developed for, the original Switch. I feel like you got to let go of something, Nintendo, because, if somebody using a wire you don't like bricks their system, I think they should have the right to sue you.
Yeah.
I think it's a very good point. And I think our friend in the chat here, Kamachi of Culture, if you don't mind bringing up their chat on the screen here.
Well, of course.
They have a very good take about this. For a $1.99 super chat, which thank you so much, Kamachi, and I love your username. He or she says, waiting to see SW2 Situatio as Brazil send lawsuits. Gentlemen, do you know what they're referring to there?
I do not.
Oh, sorry. Okay, this was a super chat. Sorry. I can see them overbricking their console too hard. Yeah. That's what the keynote here. Yeah, no, no one likes their systems getting bricked. You know, gamers are kind of simple if you think about it. You know, they like good games. They like to have the pretty people in the games. They like to not spend too much money in their game, and they like to own their game. And bricking, can we think of any time where anyone's ever happy about bricking? Culture, am I wrong here?
No, you are 100% right. In bricking things is very bad, but like you can brick cartridges and stuff. This is insane. And like I said, Nintendo is being very much too controlling about everything, to the point where you may push people away from upgrading their console, and they maybe not go with Nintendo again. I think it's silly. I mean, this thing, it was always going to be undercooled. So, you know, if you have a dock that does a better cooling job than the new one that they added a fan to, I mean, you shouldn't restrict them. I mean, and Kamchi actually has 3 super chats in all here. The first one was,
thank you.
Yeah, waiting to see Switch 2 situation as Brazil has sent a lawsuit. Yeah. And then this one, of course, I can see the overclocking their consoles is too hard. I agree with that. And then third, for another $2 super chat. Thank you, Kamchi. While suing Palworld and doing damage branded by DEI. Yeah. I mean, they got all kinds of issues at Nintendo now that I think people are just becoming aware of. And then finally another $2. My goodness. And still upset. No physical game. Also paranoid on break. I am too. Like, I've seen people reporting that their units got bricked by even physical carts, which is insane.
What?
Yeah, there's all kinds of stories. Well, here's a chat, just a wonderful regular chat from our friend Morgan King. Just a few moments ago, if I can pull it up here, it was right in front of me. But Morgan King said, or asked me a question actually, about whether or not I had seen the story about somebody changing their name and they got locked out of their console, which I think is wild. I mean, Nintendo's inventing new ways to, there it is, inventing new ways to irritate customers. Yeah, so the guy changed his username, and it had his username changed and got locked out of the Switch too. I think that's nuts. I mean, that's poor customer service. There's all kinds of problems there. So anyway, I'll stop talking. I just thought we got all those wonderful super chats in a row, and
and we'll do a big do a big recap after with these supers too after this story too, because I think we got some other ones we need to cover. So apologies to that, our viewers, but we will not leave you guys behind. We got you, and we really appreciate your support. And let's see if Nintendo gets the support, because we can wrap up this article here. The USB-C encryption discovery is not the only thing that the Switch 2 has dealt with since its launch. On social media, some Switch 2 users reported that their console had overheated while playing games like Rune Factory, Guardians of Azuma, while in its docked mode. Although the Switch 2 dock includes an additional fan to keep the entire system cooled, an open space on shelf is recommended to allow the console to properly cool off and avoid placing the console near any heat sources. While Nintendo has drawn scrutiny from Brazil's Consumer Protection Program over its aggressive EULA policy, that has not stopped the console from selling millions of units within its first month. It remains to be seen if Nintendo will respond to the USB-C encryption report. Gentlemen, closing thoughts. Any last words here on this story?
I think I think it's clear that the overprotective nature of Nintendo, and obviously all of the things that Kamchi mentioned, I think that they've crossed the line, and this is very anti-consumer, and I think that consumers are tired of getting hosed if the that petition is anything to judge by. I don't know. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, it's kind of outlandishly aggressive. It's going to be more repellent, if anything. If I'm a savvy consumer, I'm going to take a look at all this stuff and say maybe I'll skip this one, unless there's something really that really calls to you. At this point, there's no sense in buying a Switch 2 because I don't want to do something that's going to have my almost $500 system turn into a brick.
Yeah,
it's kind of silly, but Nintendo's always been a little weird with stuff, and I get it. You want to protect your brand, but cooperation and goodwill goes a long, long way.
Couldn't have said it better myself, friend. And yeah, that'll be a wrap on this. But let's hope that Nintendo can continue to get some, good opinions from its consumers, because, this is some of the most pushback I've ever seen them facing. And I really hope that, Doug Bowser, the current president, can take some notes out of Reggie's book. I know former president of Nintendo, Reggie Fils-Aimé, in the past, he had some controversial things he said, but he usually always had a pretty good charisma in order to, still satisfy the fans by kind of saying the right things. And I think they've been kind of staying firm to some of their principles lately, but kind of there's a way you can say it, without kind of looking a little harsh to your consumer. And I really hope they can go back on some things to make the consumer happy,
Well, I actually have a take on this. I think Bowser's properly named. Anyway, let's jump on these super chats. At this point, it's a recap.
Please.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are the ones that came in as we already addressed. But Kamchi, thank you for the $2 one about the situation with Brazil and everything else. We have to track what's happening there and in other places. We also thank you for the other $2 super chat. I can see they over bricking their consoles too hard. Yeah, I mean they're locking them down. And for another $2, thank you for this one. While suing Pal World and Doug damaging standby DEI. Yeah. Oh no, they definitely leaned a little hard into that, but I think they're regretting it and turning back. And finally, another $2 from Kamchi, and still upset that no physical game. Also paranoid on brick, and that's the thing. We've seen them brick carts and we've seen them brick consoles, and that's just absolute madness, especially after how much they charge for them.
In StreamYard, so apologies, folks, for the tech issues back. I think StreamYard missed out some earlier super chat. So, Culture, if you don't mind, could you please go back to right after Mark Fields at about 8:08 p.m. for Base Player 2011 Iffy and start from there?
Sure, except I didn't see one.
Not coming up for you at scroll to the top?
Okay, I will. I scrolled to the top, and we're looking for Base Player Iffy.
1999 Super.
Okay, can you give me a time frame?
Yes, 8:08 p.m. Yeah, sorry, folks. StreamYard's being a little tricky. I would have seen this way before the show, but
yeah, I don't actually have it to highlight. To be fair,
okay.
Hangry Table was the only one that was on the table when I get it. On the table when I got started. So let me see if I can go into the back stage and look it up. So please continue. I'll see what our good friend Base Player 2000 Iffy said.
Awesome.
So bear with
me. We got one from Makini Draws and Doge as well. So we'll have to try to get those too. So no super stuff. I was just like, oh my gosh, all this love. Thank you, people.
Oh, we do appreciate it.
You guys are pro gamers.
Yeah, I'm surprised because I've had this window open for hours, and I
know, right?
Don't know. All right, I'm going in now. I'm going in. So
yes,
we'll
stay on target. Stay on target.
Stay on target. Stay on target.
Everybody, calm down.
I hope Kevin Apollo will be my Obi-Wan. I'd like to get his words of guidance when my darkest time, particularly at the gym.
There you go. All right, I am logging into the back system here.
And now Kevin, while he's getting that, have you been playing anything lately?
Um, Actually, no. I can't remember what it's called. The not Elder Scrolls game that came out that was a little wokish. The I don't know, there's like a blight or something, and like you're walking through and you get these weird little psychic powers, and it wasn't terrible, but then I lost interest. And I haven't gone back to it. I still have the Zelda from last year sitting in its collector's item box that I have to get to. The because I was in the
Tears
middle
of Kingdom?
yeah. I was in the middle of studying for a certification, and when I walked into the GameStop, because I like making friends with my GameStop managers, the
Same.
I walked in and he had a collector's box there for me because I would have wanted it but didn't order it, and I obviously I snatched it up, I threw it up on my shelf, and I'm like, I have to play this someday. So that might get me motivated to dust off my Switch because I haven't turned it on in quite some time. Other than that, I've just been playing that Ninja Turtles game that came out a few years ago.
Is that Shredder's Revenge?
Yeah, Shredder's Revenge. Yeah.
Okay, the only thing that's tracked right now in the live stream still is starting at Hangry Table. So now I'm going to go into the channel back and see if that's there. So yeah, I don't know what's happening, folks, but we'll figure it out.
StreamYard hates video games. They were always tabletop players, I guess.
I really don't know, but I just didn't want to kill the stream while we were live. So now I will go into the other stuff. So you guys keep vamping or go ahead and jump into the next story.
I'm looking for something to buy though, because it's been a minute. So if anybody has any recommendations, feel free to share.
Yeah, actually, go ahead and move on, guys. I'll keep looking.
Okay. You know what? I'll hold off on our, the big finale story. I think we got time for a bonus story. Kevin, you ready for a bonus story?
Nice. I'm ready for the bonus story. Bonus.
All right. And it's such a big news story that it's coming from USA Today because this stuff's getting serious, guys. Like, the whole United States needs to know about this thing.
Yeah. Oh, and what you're referring to is from our last live stream last week. Base Player 2011 Iffy for $19.99 says, not buying a Switch 2 until I see either a Prime 2 remaster or it's added to the GameCube library along with Melee and Mario Golf, Toadstool Tour. And that is a minimum. And talking of Silent Hill 1 remake has been announced. Understand. Doge sent us $2 on last live stream, and it says specifically, fake wizard must be unpleased with Switch 2 sales. That's true. Real life fake wizard indeed. And again, thank you for all that support on that particular stream. Those super chats are extraordinarily wonderful, and we appreciate you.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, sorry, I thought they came from X. I also saw one from Kenny Draws. Hail TGP. Just wanted to show some love to Peak Gamer Stream while watching Game On. Well, thank you guys, and apologies for those tech issues in the back, but we'll roll on to our next story then. Just want to make sure all of our fans, or make sure we don't want to leave you guys ever behind, so it's appreciated your support.
Yep. And speaking of support and appreciate, what's our next thing?
All right. Well, we have it ready to go if you'd like to bring it up here, good sir.
You betcha. Let's do it. Boom.
All right. Chuck E. Cheese opens 10 new retro-style arcades. This comes from USA Today from Greta Cross. So, all right, folks, let's just jump right into this craziness. Are you guys creeped out of Chuck E. Cheese as much as me? I find him creepy.
I remember old school Chucky with the cigar.
I love it.
It looked like he'd break your thumbs because you owed him money. That's my Chuck E. Cheese.
I love Chuck E. Cheese. Let me tell you, their all their animatronics were rock solid. They were some of the best built out there. So Showbiz had some that were had some joint issues where you had to, bring in somebody to weld an extra wide piece of steel or aluminum to it. So, yeah.
So, if we go into the article a bit here, Chuck E. Cheese has unlocked a new endeavor: retro-style shopping mall arcades. In late June, CEC Entertainment, Chuck E. Cheese parent company, I wonder what that stands for, unveiled Chuck's Arcade, retro-style arcades located in 10 shopping malls across the country. The arcade features various games and merchandise counters, but unlike traditional Chuck E. Cheese, for the most part, do not offer a food selection. The new Chuck's Arcade were created by retheming and renovating existing shopping mall Fun Spot arcades, which were already owned by CEC Entertainment. A company spokesperson told USA Today. The new arcades come 5 years after CEC Entertainment filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2020. Amid the shutdowns, the company closed 45 locations, including 11 that closed before big things happened. In 2019, the company reported losing $29 million, a court filing stated, and in 2020, CEC Entertainment lost more than 90% of its revenue, despite offering delivery and takeout food, per previous USA reporting. Oh my gosh, I remember during when everyone was stuck indoors, they were talking about delivering like Chuck E. Cheese pizza through delivery, which just sounds horribly gross to me. And there were those rumors that they were using used pizza to deliver them. Do you guys remember that?
I remember that. And I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, speaking of shocking, so our 315 million investment has delivered noticeable results. With traffic growth at a level we haven't seen in nearly 5 decades, dang, the company's spokesperson said, Chuck's Arcade is a unique addition, designed for guests who grew up with Chuck E. Cheese and asked for more. I didn't ask for more, but apparently we're getting more. While it's not expected to fundamentally change our business, it meets the needs of this loyal segment. I gotta say, guys, I'm kind of interested in checking this out. I'm always vouching for in-person entertainment. I mean, you got the mall, you got the arcade. I played mini golf inside of the mall the other day, and I had like a divine time. What do you think, gentlemen? Does this intrigue you in any way?
Well, I mean, just the arcade aspect of it. Of course, a little nostalgia is all right. But I really do enjoy the idea of having a nice coin op arcade just, at my local, shopping mall. That's the other thing that seems to be coming back oddly here in the States, shopping malls, which is weird.
It's weird, right? Yeah, they've been all but dead. All but dead. So it's nice to see them trying to bounce back. I don't know. I personally miss arcades. When I was a kid, our Nathans had a massive arcade in the back. That's why I saw things like Contra for the first time.
Ooh.
And the original Punch Out. And then he got older, and then it turned into Street Fighter versus X-Men.
I'm picturing like the arcade machine is like a transformer, like it just starts flipping the panels and becomes Street Fighter.
So yeah, as long as it's going to be an actual arcade and not like just one of those those throw in a couple quarters and get a bunch of tickets for something you can never afford, you're never going to have enough tickets for a thing. I'm all for it. I think showing the kids how we used to live, is always
back in my day.
Yeah, especially those old arcade games that never actually got ported over to the systems at the time. I think it'd be kind of fun, or you letting someone see what the original Narc actually looked like before you got the watered down the system version.
Well, I have to ask on the subject of arcades, and I don't want to go too much of a tangent here, but I have to ask Kevin, have you ever played the original Tron arcade machine?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you had the ability to play the discs, the elimination disc game. You had the ability to drive the tank, and the big red. What I want to say they're called destroyers, but I forget what they're called. The big giant things, and then the light cycle. So it had 4 elements in it. It was fantastic. It was great. Loved it, and one of the best.
I did play the
Light
Stern
bikes,
from ColecoVision and the ET game.
Oh my gosh! No,
I still have that cartridge up at my cabin. So
Nice.
well, at least it's not in a desert in New Mexico. But anyway, speaking of what could be in this arcade, Chuck's Arcade is a spin-off of the original Chuck E. Cheese experience. Located in shopping malls, the arcade features both classic and new games. Classics include Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, Mortal Kombat, so you can do a fatality of Mortal Kombat at Chuck E. Cheese, Donkey Kong, and Centipede. And new offerings include Jurassic Park, Halo, and Connect 4 Hoops, according to its news release. So, I gotta say, I think this is showing some promise here. It's asking, is Chuck's Arcade only for adults? No, Chuck's Arcade is for all ages. The arcades are just marketed for adults and lifelong fans of Chuck E. Cheese in new release states. So, I mean, it's got a lot going for it, and apparently it's not going to sell the food that is going to be, tasting really bad. And the million-dollar question here is, does it feature the animatronic bands? And unfortunately, guys, no, it doesn't. Munch's make-believe band is part of the past. The animatronic band was removed from locations and discontinued in 2023, which makes no sense to me because Five Nights at Freddy's is one of the most relevant things about Chuck E. Cheese these days. And you'd think they'd want to do like a gaming tie-in, but maybe that wasn't in the budget. Am I delusional here?
you're not delusional.
No.
Yeah,
No,
I would love for there to be, the origin of the Five Nights at Freddy's tales to be made alive once more. So, but no, Lauren's correct. The upkeep costs on animatronics, and you really do need a regular maintenance or service person because these things can literally tear themselves apart in a matter of minutes. So,
but you do get a steel statue, which is arguably just as creepy. I mean, those eyes, they're so small. Like, I
tell you what, Nolan, one of these years after I'm relocated, I will build you a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic.
Nice.
Can you not put it at the end of my bed? That's all I ask.
That's fine. That's fine.
We're gonna wait for you to go to sleep and wheel it in. Put it right at the head of your bed.
Well, unfortunately, we are running close on time, Nolan.
Yes, so I think we need to be getting into our last story. Wouldn't you agree, gentlemen?
I do, and I want to say another thank you to Mark Fields for another $2 super chat saying, keep up all the good work on this channel. You betcha. We appreciate you, Mark. Thanks for your support. All right. Well,
all right.
The final story, and you know what? Kevin Apollo's going to love this one.
Yes, I'm so glad he's here for this. Kevin, this story was made for you.
Oh, all right. What do you got?
It comes from comicbook.com. Culture, bring it up. Bring up this bad boy.
All right. Boom.
One of WWE's biggest stars joined Street Fighter movie reboot. Alongside Roman Reigns, another WWE champion has joined the ever-growing cast of the upcoming Street Fighter movie by Matthew Aguilar. And if I can do my best, WWE, trying to hype up, see if I can get a job with them maybe, be alongside Pat McAfee. The live-action Street Fighter movie has been adding new stars to its cast at an incredible pace, with one major casting just happening earlier today. That was the casting of David... How do you say his last name, Kevin?
Oh, yeah, I don't know how to say his last name. This was interesting casting, though. I was at first I was like, but then I was like, it could work, especially if we're gonna put a little more emphasis on his psychic abilities as opposed to the his brute strength. So I was like, I'm all for it.
So I'll make an attempt here. I'll go for it if you're ready, guys. David Dasmalchian as M. Bison, and if I offended him, I am so sorry. The film's main villain. And now we might have an idea of who will be going up against Bison head-on in the film. Of course, While there are already a few heroes like Ryu and Chun-Li in the mix, still waiting on that Cammy casting, just FYI, a new report is saying that one of WWE's biggest superstars will be stepping into the role of Bison's nemesis, and an all-around good guy, Guile. The report comes by way of Nexus Point News, which says that WWE's American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, is in talks to play Guile. No other details were mentioned in the report, but there is a precedent for this after all, as the film already includes the tribal chief himself, Roman Reigns. Reigns will be playing the role of Akuma in the film, so having Rhodes step into the role of Guile would actually be quite serendipitous. The rumor has now apparently been collaborated by Deadline. While Rhodes spends a great deal of time battling in the ring and interacting with the WWE Universe, he's been able to branch out into the realms of podcasting, TV, and movies. I guess kind of like Mr. T. Street Fighter will now be the second high-profile film Rhodes will be a part of, as he's also being featured in the upcoming return of The Naked Gun. Rhodes has also had roles on Warehouse 13 and Arrow, but if he ends up in the role of Guile, that will be the biggest role on his growing film and TV resume. All right, before I hand off this bad boy to Kevin, Culture, give me some of your retro Street Fighter takes here. What do you think about Guile? What do you think of this?
I think it'll work. And if you want to know who David Dastmalchian played last, you would remember from Suicide Squad. He was Polka Dot Man.
Nice,
so,
nice.
Yeah, but anyway, no, I think the casting overall is good. Reigns is probably good. I like I said, they could have done worse. I do think that Dastmalchian, first of all, the guy's 50, 51. He's close to my age, and he might be a little too old for that character, but I think he has the chops. And replacing Raul Julia is not exactly an easy thing. But yeah, Dastmalchian is pretty good actor. So it may work. It may work.
Kevin, the microphone is in your bare hands, good sir. Tell me of how this is going to rejuvenate Street Fighter and somehow make up for the fact that I'm disappointed that we won't see Callie Minogue anymore. Tell me why this is going to be the greatest movie ever.
This sounds fun. I trust the director. When you see other stuff that he's done, he's very stylized. We've got actors who can get down and dirty with the stunts and know how to simulate combat in this movie. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. But everything about this movie right now is just screaming it's going to be fun. So as long as we've got Akuma, so as long as we avoid the use of the phrase "the Dark Hado" from the from the Street Fighter Alpha movie, I think we'll be good. All you have to do is just give me a live action Street Fighter 2 the movie, and we're set. We're just set because as far as I'm concerned, that anime is the perfect Street Fighter adaptation. So just give me something that gives me echoes of that, and we're good to go.
I know the anime you're talking about, and let's keep this. Let's make sure we take the kids to this one, please. Oh my goodness! Any closing thoughts here, Culture?
I'm excited. I want to see this tomorrow. I mean, I've been wanting a good new Street Fighter for a long time, but the only thing that was holding me back was Raul Julia. So, I'm sorry, just one of the greatest actors out there. And John G is correct in the chat. It needs to be funny. You need to have a good time at this movie. If you're not having a good time, you shouldn't have made it in the first place. So, but
it seems like the people behind it understand, that fun appeal of it. And correct me if I'm wrong here, Raul Julia. Didn't he take on the role of Street Fighter because his kid loved the game or something like that? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah. His kids liked the game, and I think at the time he knew he was sick, but he did it anyway, and his scene chewing in every scene he's in actually makes things better. He saw what it was and just ran with it.
He ran with it. Yeah, and I think it was said in the chat that he understood the assignment. So yeah, you guys, the chat's on fire tonight. Thank you very much for your support. You guys have no idea how much we enjoy this show, and we are looking forward to the future. Very soon, you will be able to find the one and only Kevin Apollo on. I'm sorry, what was the channel again?
The House of Apollo.
The House of Apollo. Go subscribe now. There might be content someday. Go. All right. Speaking of going, I want to say thank you for finding all the great articles today, Nolan, and for leading us fearlessly into the future. Speaking of which, we'll see you probably next Saturday. But before that, we plan to get you some more video content out there. And I know Nolan and I are going to work to get this thing back up to full speed when we might have to use the House of Apollo.
Definitely. And Culture, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on the main channel, Culture Casino, but I launched a new channel called Campione Reacts, where I'm outnumbered by ladies usually, and we are breaking down all the hazards of dating, at least if you pay attention to the advice given from TikTok or Instagram or even here on YouTube. So we are not quite red pill or manosphere because I'm the only dude, but you're going to find some very based and solid opinions out of the ladies. So go check out Campione Reacts on YouTube, and pretty soon it's going to be on a podcast on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and it's also going to be coming to the Green Machine, and you'll probably find it in a couple other places as well. We're branching out. We're going to offend the advice givers on TikTok if we can. That's the plan. So go check it out, guys. Yeah. We appreciate it.
Kevin, where can they find you outside of House Apollo? Like, where are they going to find you streaming?
Oh, I don't know. Wherever you guys need me, I'll be, probably on Pro on Wednesday. I'll see you with Marv on Thursday, and then and whenever there's wrestling news, I'll be with Marv on Tuesday. So I'm out there. I'm floating around. Hopefully, I'll get to do some stuff with Culture this week too.
Yeah, so we need to get back to that. We tried a couple times this last week, but it's always fun. And then, of course, Nolan, where can people find you and your amazingness?
Well, if you want to hear me talking about video game urban legends and internet mysteries, please check me out on my YouTube channel at Nolan Thunder. I have a whole documentary on an urban legend about Super Mario 64 being made with an experimental AI. It's crazy. It's a crazy one. I've been working on it for like a year, so please check it out. And once that video's out, uploads are going to be a lot more routine. It's just a big season finale production, so please check it out.
Amazing. Take us on out.
All right. Thank you all, everyone, for coming. We always appreciate you. It's been a big success today's show. We'll see you guys back next week. And as always, as we like to say around here, get your game on!
That's right.